Good evening, Winthrop, and welcome to the Winthrop Town Council meeting of December 15th, 2020. This meeting is being held remote. It is being shown live, and portions of it will be shown during the next week or two on WCAT. I believe you can see it on YouTube tomorrow at WCAT's YouTube. The number to call in for public hearings and public comment is 1-312-626-6799. The ID number is 810-713-60507. All right, I will repeat that again just before public comment. I will now call the meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, please, Denise?
Council Ruggiero.
Here.
Council Flockhart.
Here.
Council DeMarco.
Here.
Council Christopher.
Here.
Council Honan.
Here.
Council Conti. Council Farino.
Here.
Vice President Lettieri.
Here.
President Boncory.
Here. Having a quorum, meeting will now come to order. I would ask Councilor Farino to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Larissa, do you have the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Has everyone received the minutes? I believe they were emailed out to all of us a day or two ago. Everybody?
Motion to accept.
Motion's been made by Councilor Farino to accept it, seconded by Councilor Honan. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Are there any corrections? Are there any additions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye when your name is called.
Council Ruggiero.
Oh, yes.
Council Flockhart.
Yes.
Council DeMarco.
Yes.
Council Christopher.
Yes.
Council Honan.
Yes.
Council Conti. Council Farino.
Yes.
Vice President Lettieri.
Yes.
President Boncory.
Yes. Under general information and recommendations, I mean, it's a very short meeting today. We just have one issue that I want to report, and I think you're going to get a further report from Meredith under the town manager's report. But today there were 23 new cases of positive COVID tests, and that is added to the 36 that came in over the weekend. So we're not doing great. We have got to keep up the vigilance. Please wear your mask. There is a mandatory mask order inside and outside. Unless you're eating food, you're supposed to be wearing a mask, whether you're inside or outside. And we're up to 1,109 people who've tested positive, and we lost another member the past week of the town of Winthrop, and we're up to 27 deceased. So please, because I am going to ask the police and the health inspector and the person that we hired to help Meredith enforce this mask ruling to start enforcing it strict and giving out tickets. No more warnings, no more handing you a free ticket. If you're not wearing your mask and any one of these people see you, you're going to get a ticket, hopefully. And that may curtail some of what's been going on in the town, and it may help to reduce these positive results that we're getting every single day. Okay, as far as that, we have no public hearings tonight. I will now open the meeting for public comment. Again, the public comment number is 1-312-626-6799. The ID number that goes with that is 810-713-60507. Again, 810-713-60507. Okay, is there anyone ready on public comment?
I don't see any hands up at this time.
I don't see any as well. And it's amazing that we have 28 attendees to the town council meeting, but we had over 100 attendees to the Board of Health meeting. So hopefully we get some more attendance at these meetings. All right, moving on to committee correspondence. Do you have any correspondence, Denise?
I have not received any correspondence.
Okay, has anyone else received correspondence they'd like to bring forward?
I did have a town hall last week. The focus of the town hall was on.
Yeah, I'm going to call on that under committee reports, Rob. I'm going to call on you under committee reports. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
If hearing none, committee reports. The first one on the agenda is the Public Safety Committee. Barbara?
Okay, I'm ready. After meeting with the committee to evaluate new sites for the public safety building, the Public Safety Committee met on December 9 to discuss the choice of a site recommended by Castle.
Phil, could you speak up?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, shall I start over again?
Yeah, please, because it was very low.
Okay. After meeting with the committee to evaluate new sites for a public safety building, the Public Safety Committee met on December 9 to discuss the choice of a site recommended by Castle Booze Associates. It was decided that since the community was likely to want to replace the Little League field in the event the town council chose that site for the new building, we should contact members of the local Little League organization to discuss how they would handle moving their field, and with the golf course organization to discuss their ability to reconfigure the course in the event that that site was chosen. Therefore, before presenting a motion to the council on the choice, we would like to table this until the next meeting in order to gather more information.
When would you anticipate that meeting will be? Will it be in January
or the next meeting is in January, isn't it?
the next Public Safety
Committee? Town council meeting. The next town council meeting.
Yes, it will be January, I believe it's 5th, but in the meantime, when will the Public Safety Committee meeting be? Do you have any idea?
We'll have another meeting before that, but we haven't chosen a date yet. But we're trying to contact these people
Okay,
in order to get some information.
thank you, Councilor Flockhart. Next thing on the committee
Can I ask a
report-
question, Council?
Yes, if you have one.
I wasn't able to attend. I was at the planning board meeting, but I was wondering, was if either of those sites were chosen, did anybody discuss the potential for reimbursement of open space to how we would go about doing that under Article 97, Councilor?
No, we did not. We just discussed that these people would be upset if we took their site.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Councilor Flockhart? Hearing none, the next thing on our agenda in committee reports is a virtual town hall with Councilor DeMarco, which he was trying to jump over Barbara with.
Yeah, so we met, and this time the number one subject was schools and reopening. It was it was one of the smaller attended meetings that I've had, but it was a really unifying meeting in that, the people who want their kids in school and the people who are too afraid and want their kids to stay home, we're really all doing this because we love our kids, and we're all in this together. So it was kind of a unifying kind of thing to try to lift each other up and not tear each other down. So I thought it was a really good, heartfelt meeting.
Thank you, Rob. Did you say you had certain correspondence from that meeting that you wanted to bring forward?
No, not at this time.
Okay. All right, we're moving right along. Town manager report.
We just had a good Board of Health meeting discussing potential rollbacks in town, which the Board of Health voted to table. There's a regional approach on some of these things that I was trying to bring to the town's attention that didn't happen this time. I do believe that the governor is considering additional rollbacks. We're also trying to advocate for directed money to go to some of the businesses that are most impacted by these rollbacks. The state does have CARES Act money in hand that the state controls, that local municipalities don't have control over, that we are advocating to be allocated out to communities, especially our restaurant community. I understand how important that is in a place like Winthrop, and when you've had such a drastic reduction in the amount of business, not just for restaurants, but for all types of businesses, I want to try to release any aid that we can have available from the state and also the federal government. So we're continuing to explore different ways to try to keep people healthy. I wanted to briefly bring up one or two items, and is this sharing my screen right now with the presentation?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So just very briefly, I participate in things with mayors from all around the country, at Harvard with Bloomberg. If you look at this slide on the top with this graph, that green line that is way out on top of everyone else, unfortunately, is the United States. So you can see a surge that was already happening prior to Thanksgiving, and then an additional surge on top of that. Here are the areas of the country where spikes are happening. So again, west, south, and northeast. We're in the Northeast. Vaccines are coming out. We know that, unfortunately, the vaccines, a fair amount of people in a community like Winthrop, for example, the majority of people would fall into the third or fourth phase of vaccination distribution. So you have your healthcare workers, you're extremely vulnerable, people within hospitals first, and then you kind of have like a trickling down through essential workers and things like that. A fair amount of people would unfortunately fall into the you're looking at the third, fourth phase, which is looking at like April, May, June-ish area for vaccines. So we still have a long way to go. And you can see that we've had spikes that have happened after Memorial Day, after Labor Day, we've had one after Thanksgiving, and unfortunately, there's probably going to be one after the holiday season that we're kind of in the middle of right now. What is scary about this?
Excuse me, Austin.
Yep.
Austin, can you spread that out over your whole screen?
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm using my wife's computer, so that's my fault.
Okay.
Being as
Forgiven.
usually am on some of this stuff. All right, I can present this to you later. All I'm saying is that shows that stuff is going up. How the risk increases, everyone knows: outdoors, indoor masks, indoor unmasked small gathering, and then indoor unmasked gathering with many people. So the biggest thing with this is how can everyone do these things safely and differently during this holiday season? It's going to be different. It's just like Thanksgiving. Same type of advice as, probably try to stick with people inside of your household that are within your own pod. This is, I understand how crucially hard this is to do. I have a older grandmother in Malden that I've only been able to see outside with masks on. That is very troubling to me. She's kind of in failing health, and this is a hard time. So I get how hard this is. And I don't want to vacate our responsibilities as a town saying that it's only personal responsibility. I've talked about personal responsibility before because there's only so much we as a town can do. But I will continue to talk about personal responsibility because there's some things we can do in the town. We had the conversation just an hour ago about gyms in town, and the state is constantly looking at restaurants right now. There are more than just gyms and restaurants in town. We have our own municipal government is the biggest employer in town. We have different entities. That said, all it is COVID. Like, we're trying to get ahead of COVID. That is none of these other items like things with our education or our businesses, our economy, all of those types of things. Unfortunately, they take a back seat to COVID. Like 300 people, 1,000 died in the country so far from it. A lot of people in this area. We have high numbers in Winthrop. We have high numbers in our neighboring communities. We need to continue being vigilant. So we don't have another meeting for 3 weeks. I just want to kind of continue to harp on the please wear masks, please social distance. As much as the council president would like us to pursue enforcement in town, which we will be more than happy to look to enforce, it's difficult for us to look at the scenario that our police officers are spending their time asking people to put masks on. I think that myself as an adult and ourselves as a community that's kind of working together should be able to potentially allocate our resources a little bit better than that. I don't think anyone thinks it's worth the police's time to be enforcing mask orders when there is very other important things and items for the community to be working on. So with that, just want to give Meredith a few minutes to give some people some updates, and that's really all I've got for right now. Thank you.
Everybody, let me just pull out my other note. So where we stand right now, we've had 28 cases reported in the last 24 hours, which brings us to 1,109 total cases. We've had 27 folks that have passed away from this terrible illness. We currently have 196 isolated and 886 have recovered. So I was on the Board of Health meeting. I had said that I would try and bring what I expect to be our incidence rate, and I had erroneously alluded that potentially would be lower, but it's, from my calculations, we are probably going to be a little bit higher, closer to the 90s as instead of the 70s. I also just did a quick calculation on case counts comparing this month so far to November, because December really right around December 1st is when we saw this surge really start to take off. So in November, we had 269 cases of COVID reported. So far this month, we've had 300, which is what is driving this incidence rate. This is what is driving our percent positive. We have had some, I wouldn't say large scale outbreaks like we've seen in the past. We've had some impactful outbreaks at congregate care settings, meaning the park at Harborview has experienced about 10 cases, and also a DMH site on a group home here. They've unfortunately experienced a fair amount of cases. I can see the residents, which is about 6 to 7, and also one of their residents passed away from COVID, and they've had additional staff that have also tested positive. They are in line to be in phase 1 of vaccination, and that's exactly why it's so hard to control once it gets going in the congregate care settings. We are also working with the public schools doing a flu vaccine clinic this coming Friday from 3 to 7. I was in communication with their school nurses earlier. They have filled all of the appointment times that we have, but we think that we'll be able to either expand out some capacity during that time or hold another one next week. I think that that's about it for my report for you guys right now. Happy to answer any questions that you have.
Councilor Terry.
How you doing? Thank you again, Meredith, for all you do. It's extremely well appreciated. I know you just said on the case count on the number of positives from November to December. Do you have the amount of, I'll just give you a couple of questions and you could, the amount of testing that was done in November compared to December? And as far as the testing is going now, are we back to I know you said at a previous meeting before Thanksgiving, we were about 70% residential, and then it went down to like 50% with the residents and 50% outside. Has that gone back up towards the 70%?
I don't have the answers to those questions right now, but I can either circle back with you later on in the meeting, or I can just share that with you via email.
That's fine, no problem. Again, you're doing an incredible amount of work, and I think this is one thing I could speak for all of us, saying how appreciative we are of all the efforts that you've put in and your staff. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. President.
Councilor Farino.
Hi, Meredith. How are you?
Hi, Counselor.
Just one quick question. Are we going to be able to get extended testing after December 31st?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm sorry I didn't mention that. So yes, we have been extended. I have a meeting on Thursday, late afternoon, with the Stop the Spread site people. So the two stipulations that they've given us is that it needs to be indoor, and they are working with a new vendor. So if anybody's familiar with Project Beacon over at the Suffolk Down site, which is appointment only, that's what they're going to be moving to. I know that Superintendent Howard had some struggles this week. The timing is actually really good because she had there were some struggles this week at the Cummings School with pickups because of the traffic pattern there. And, we've been having struggles with the traffic pattern, obviously, especially through October, November, December. So we are finalizing, we have a couple of potential sites. Really what we're waiting to hear from the state is what they need and what we can provide for that, what they think their capacity is going to be. I'm going to be advocating for an extension of hours. So instead of just 2 to 7, it would be ideal if we were able to do like 10 a.m. to 7, so that we can have more testing done in a more controlled manner. So what they've said is they will extend that. That will begin, they're aiming to begin that, I believe, January 15th. And continue until at least March 31st.
Great, thank you.
Councilor Christopher.
Thanks, Meredith. Is there going to be any role for the municipalities to play in the disbursement of the vaccine?
Yeah, so right now we know that, obviously, which is really exciting. It's been exciting to watch the vaccine roll into this state in the last 48 hours and start to be given to our frontline healthcare workers. So what we're expecting right now, so what we'll first start to see here is our first responders being vaccinated. So they will be vaccinated centrally, meaning they'll be vaccinated like sector specific, not through local health, is what the understanding is, just because the Pfizer vaccine is just the way it has to be reconstituted. We don't have the capacity. So we expect them to be centrally vaccinated through kind of their larger organizations like Mass Chiefs in conjunction with DPH. They believe that we will be seeing what we call open pods, open points of distribution, potentially in April for communities, for general population. The way that the vaccine plan is rolling out, phase 2 will kind of encompass those over the age of 65. Phase 1 will include the long-term care facilities, and that is actually being done through the federal vaccination program, which they've subcontracted with CVS and Walgreens to provide the vaccine that way. So I expect that they probably will be deploying kind of teams into these congregate care settings to vaccinate, which is nice because it takes a load off of right now, obviously, because we're still working through 300 cases in 15 days. You know, it takes that burden off of us in terms of planning and being able to kind of catch up a little bit.
Hey, Mary, any other questions? Councilor DeMarco.
Real quick, you described the Pfizer vaccine. From what I understand, the Moderna vaccine should be coming out very shortly as well. Are there going to be any distribution differences between the two vaccines since one is easier to store?
Well, I think that we'll see the Pfizer vaccine. That's going to have to be fairly well controlled because of the reconstitution and the shelf life, like post reconstitution. So, you know, we don't have the deep freezer that needs to, you know, hold them. So, so I think that we'll see those at more central locations throughout the Commonwealth, and the Moderna vaccine, if or when it's approved, we'll start to see that. My expectation is that's what we'll see more on the local level. The state has put out an ambitious plan that by May, 80% of those of us over the age of 16 in the state will be vaccinated against COVID. That's how they're rolling with their infrastructure and their plans, that they're going to try and meet that capacity. Right now, I know that, you know, Pfizer and Moderna are starting to go through the clinical trials for adolescents and youth. But so that 80% really constitutes those over the age of 16.
Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you.
Could you just tell us how the flu clinic went? How many people we did inoculate, and do we have more coming?
Yep, so we had 40, just between 40 and 50 on that Saturday morning. It was really a crappy day, but the MRC did, as always, an amazing job. I think that we have at least 70 school-age children signed up for this Friday evening from 3 to 7. And if there's enough demand, we expect to do another one, you know, the following week.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, anybody else have any questions? Are you done, Austin, or do you have more of a report?
Just one item to note. The CARES Act money from the federal government that we've been relying on a lot since we got access to it runs out at the end of this calendar year. So a lot of the flexibility that we've had with the public health office and some of our staffing of the EOC and things like that, and even the ways we've directed funds to kind of respond to work from home, that money dries up at the end of this year. So with some of the enforcement and stuff like that, some of these things that are related to Meredith's office may become a little bit trickier, unfortunately, starting in January, because we do not have the one-time money available for that. So most likely in January or February, if we have a better idea of what's happening at the federal and state government with the allocation of resources to local governments, we'll then try to circle back up with Meredith's office to make sure that they have everything that they need. Because again, like if we're getting money, we want to put it towards the health office and our response to this. The problem is that we know that this is running out at the end of the month. So we've tried to allocate it to a bunch of different resources. We're even doing we've talked with Robert Rapucci about doing some stuff with us as well. So trying as hard as possible to utilize this funding around town on a diverse set of options to get money out to as many people as possible and to utilize the money to the best of it. And hopefully next year we have something else to spend from and try to keep rebuilding ourselves after this. Thank you.
Are we using any of that for the food banks and to keep people in Winthrop that need it fed?
Yeah, yes. This money has been all spent here, either for going directly towards meals related things, our health department, those types of things. And then internally, we've spent it on things to make sure that we are set up so we don't have like outbreaks in town hall and keeping people working from home and stuff like that. So again, we're using it to the best of our abilities, but the month ends and then we don't have that resource anymore, unfortunately. So, I'm advocating for it. And I think a lot of people are working on ways to get additional relief to local governments and local businesses with, unfortunately, smaller amounts of money. But we'll figure out what we can do once we're at that period of time.
Okay. Any councilors have questions? So,
Council
Fernando, is that your
President?
hand up?
Yes. Austin, this may be, it's a follow-up from last week, speaking about the water rates. And I think I need to direct these questions to Stevie, Director Calla.
You don't call him Stevie.
I'm sorry. It's a childhood thing. Anyway, a couple of quick questions. And I was asked, what is the current loss percentage of the water in the town? I think we said 18%.
Yeah, so my calculations have us at about 18%. What we're hoping to, and I'm hoping it's included in whatever water audit we do, MWRA continues to give us total consumption at our total consumption that they're registering through meter 41 isn't corresponding to even close to what we're billing. So hopefully there'll be a deeper dive into if there's any estimates going on, or, I mean, we've been very, very aggressive on leak detection. We've been very, very aggressive on water main replacement. And, so I'm coming up with unaccounted for at about 18%.
Okay.
MWRA is showing about
you had mentioned, you had mentioned that we have a device that goes around and finds these leaks.
Yeah, so it's a correlator. We contract that out. The town doesn't do it. We've been bringing in Listed Environmental. They do a town-wide leak detection. They do every pipe in town, and we've been doing it annually. It's only required for our permit every 2 years. We've been doing it annually, and we've been finding very, very minimal leaks. So.
Okay, so and that's my next question is there a plan for the leaks that we find and where they're located, and we keep a list? Is there a pecking list of the priorities and when we're getting them fixed?
We fix every leak. Once the report is done, all leaks are fixed within 2 weeks, and we get right on them. I mean, there's nothing outstanding. They've been service leaks, small leaks, some valve leaks, but again, all of them are fixed immediately after we do our leak detection. So,
and we still maintain our 18% no matter what.
This is what I mean. I had a discussion with Austin. I've been talking with Anna, Dick Kingston, and we're trying to figure out. It's hard to wrap our head around why there's such a big difference between what we're billing and what MWRA is registering as total consumption. Granted, there's water loss for fire protection. There's water loss and water main breaks, and we've had some water main breaks, and we've fixed them. And it's hard to quantify how much water is lost in a water main break, but it's to have 27%, the 10% differential from what we're calculating, it's substantial revenue lost. I mean, it adds up. 10% adds up to close to $3 million in revenue. So it's something that we need to really understand. We need to understand if it's. I mean, we don't have any way to question MWRA's meter. It may be worth the investment for a redundant meter so that we have something that we can look at. A meter that size is about $60,000 to $70,000. It requires a vault to be installed. So it's a substantial cost, but I mean, right now, we're just taking MWRA's numbers, and the total consumption and our billed water just is the gap is not getting smaller, and it should be with how aggressive we've been with the water main replacement and the leak detection.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, I lost you for a while there. Thank you, Stephen. I just wanted to bring those questions up that were asked to me. I've been speaking to a lot of people, and they're just really concerned. You know, if we have to invest in a second meter to maybe use it for argumentative purposes against the resource authority, then we should do it. I mean, it may be well worth our investment.
The MWRA, they've been a great partner, and I don't want to, you know, I don't want to speak badly about them, but I hope that you know, whatever we do, we take a deep dive into you know, how they're coming up with total consumption. Is it truly metered water, or is there some sort of estimate, you know, built into that? And that's what, you know, that's what has to kind of be explained.
Thank you, Stephen. Stephen, while you're on, can you explain what happened when we lost water for the whole town and MWRA came to our rescue, I think, there, and backfilled water for us? But can you explain that situation to the townspeople that are listening?
Absolutely. So we have a pressure reducing station at the entrance to our distribution system, which is right over at the Revere Street entrance. MWRA supplies the town with water at 110 pounds. Our system can't accommodate 110 pounds. It would blow up, you know, cause breaks. So we reduced that pressure down to about 68 pounds. For some reason, our control piping on the pressure reducing valve got clogged with debris, which it happens. I mean, there's filters on them, but some debris got past the filters and it forced the valve to close. And so, which basically, like a light switch, killed the pressure to the town. It was felt town-wide. So we reached out to MWRA, and they were able to backfeed us from the backfeed station down on Taft's Ave from Deer Island. We were able to restore pressure within 3 hours, and you know, we got the system back up and operational. So, like I said, MWRA, they're a super partner to have. It just, you know, I just think we need a more collaborative look at why there's such a discrepancy between what they're claiming as total consumption and what we're seeing as billed water.
Thank you, Stephen.
One follow-up, Council President. So, Steve, the pressure that was built up, was that due to the fact that Gioso was pressurizing the lines to check his new pipes down the center?
No, it had absolutely nothing to do with the center project. It was debris in the control piping of the PRV. It just closed that valve. You know, it had nothing to do with any real piece of our distribution system other than that valve on the incoming line.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Vice President Lettieri, keep checking if I go off as well, Councilor Lettieri.
I will. And Steve, since Director Callis, since you just answered a couple of questions, I just want to you know, inform the town that Gioso was done for the season. I believe you could confirm that.
Yep, they wrapped up. Today was their deadline, December 15th, which I'm happy to report that I'm satisfied with the way they cleaned up and closed up for the winter. You will, like I said last meeting, they will still have a presence in town. They have pipe inspections to do. There'll be no road closures or no excavations, but you will see them around, you know, just doing the pipe inspections and some pressure testing. But they are done for the season.
So the question I had is, down at the rink parking lot, they were using that substantially and had a lot of dirt and stuff there. It seems to be some sort of depression in the parking lot itself, collecting debris, and the drain that's there seems to be, I don't know if it's clogged or not, but is that something that's going to be addressed?
We had them clean it out. Yes, it will be addressed. And there's actually more work in that parking lot next construction season. There's going to be several catch basins installed in that parking lot. And there'll be eventually a resurfacing of that lot to kind of, move that water more properly. But yeah, what you see right now, they did do they milled the trench to try to move that puddle to the existing catch basin. It's not perfect. There will still be some puddling throughout the winter, and we'll keep up on it with salting. But at the end of the project, that parking lot will be, the drainage will work much better than you're seeing there right now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Councilor Drew, you have questions for the town manager?
Sure. For the town manager, for the director through the town manager, I suppose. Just since we're all asking Steve questions, Steve, how do we feel for Thursday's snowstorm? Are we ready to go?
We're ready to go. All the vehicles are ready to go. We do have some vacancies in the department. We got a younger crew, and it's going to be a substantial storm. We'll manage it. We'll get through it, and yeah. I mean, we've been through a lot worse, Counselor, and we'll get by this one just fine.
I guess that would be the answer. So
Councilor Jerry, I was just going to call on Chief Flanagan, who's the emergency preparedness person, to let us know what the storm was going to do and be like.
I can answer the questions if you want. I mean, they're calling for 6 to 10 in our area. It's supposed to come in late Wednesday evening and go through the night and end in the evening on Thursday. So I suspect that you'll see in our area, probably closer to that 10 inches.
And Councilor Boncory, as far as the tides go, astronomically on Thursday, we have an 11-foot 6 tide, which would be alarming, but the storm is going to be parallel, if not just by us, and the wind's going to be in the northwest. So as far as coastal flooding goes, we don't feel it's going to be a problem.
Thank you very much for that information, and that's good information. I had heard that we were having northeast type flood, and that would not have been good.
It's going to start off northeast, but as the storm goes by, the wind will be in the northwest at 12:58 tide on Thursday.
Thank you, Chief. Anything else on town manager's report? Anybody else have any questions for anyone? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move right on to the school department update. And the school committee met on Monday, December 7th, and it was a very good meeting. They talked about we're needing to recruit a lot of teacher monitors. We need monitors for the middle school, the high school. We need lunchroom monitors for E.B. Newton, Cummings, and the middle school. We need hallway monitors for 2 or 3 schools. So there are openings. If you have time, if you are not working right now because you're out of work for COVID, sign up and put an application in. We need monitors. Even though Lisa's telling me that school will be ready to open, I talked to her today. She said we will be ready to open on the 4th. At our meeting last time, we told that the Phoenix testing was going to be all ready. And on December 18th, we will be bringing in the next cohort of people with special higher needs. And they will be coming in on the 18th. And that's good news. And I guess they're anticipating that the A cohort is going to be changing from 2 days to 4 days. And the B cohort will be coming in on 2 days, I believe, starting yesterday. So I believe that did happen. And they announced the retirement of Judy Bono. Judy Bono has been with the town for about 35 years with the school department and had worked in time. She is retiring as well. So that is the school department report, if anybody has any questions about that. All right, hearing none, we'll go on to old business, of which there is none. Under new business, we have three motions that are coming before us. And the first one is coming from the town manager. Is it the town manager direct the town council direct?
I can speak to that.
It's written in backwards, but go ahead. It's Council DeMarco's motion, I believe.
Yeah, so basically the whole main idea of this is that if it's safe for the kids to be in class, which looks like it's going to happen January 4th, then it should be time that we meet in person in some form or another. I've had many parents come up to me and say, why should I send my kids back to school if it's not even safe for you guys to meet in person? You know, there are safety protocols that are going to be in place in the school that it's going to be completely different atmosphere for the kids. You know, I wouldn't mind using those safety protocols in one fashion or another if we were to meet in person. In fact, even if we had to wear a mask in our meetings, which we probably would, that actually might set an example for the community, since we're having trouble getting people to wear masks right now. And it doesn't put a date on it either. It simply says if the kids are in school, once they go back, so if it got pushed back out to January 19th, it would be January 19th, not setting a date. It's if the kids are in school hybrid, we should be meeting in person in one form or another. And there's also room to, you know, I don't expect everybody to want to do that, but there must be some physical presence at some point. We have to get back. And I thought, Austin, that you could help us, you know, make some suggestions on how we could do that safely.
The motion was that the town council direct the town manager to find a solution for in-person meetings, I believe. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send that to committee, because of course we can't vote on it the same night it's brought up. Sure. I am going to send that to the Public Safety Committee. Councilor Flockhart, you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to send this motion to your committee so you can take that up at the same time you're taking up the other two issues that you have going. I believe it is a public safety issue. Okay.
Okay.
Next motion is a motion from the town manager, which would have to be someone else bringing it forward, but it is to join an intermunicipal agreement for creating the North Suffolk Resilience and Sustainability Office on behalf of the cities and the town of Chelsea, Revere, and Winthrop. Council, is there a motion to bring this forward?
I'll make that motion.
A motion is made by Councilor Farino, seconded by?
Second.
Councilor Christopher. Okay, do you want to bring us up to date on this, Austin, before I send it out to a committee? And who you think we should send it out to?
So one of the first things I talked about when I came to Winthrop was about regionalizing services and trying to find full-time positions for jobs that we only had part-time money put towards or like partially grant-funded positions. I started talking with Chelsea and Revere and the MAPC about this in 2018. It has been an extraordinarily long time coming to figure out how to work on this type of regional office. But what this is going to entail right now is the Barr Foundation has awarded Winthrop, Chelsea, and Revere $600,000 to utilize over 3 calendar years on this regional office. It will be focused on energy, climate, and resiliency. Our conservation work would be done there, as well as our conservation permits are online as part of the building permit process right now. This would cover us for funding opportunities with Green Communities, MVP, a bunch of different places that unfortunately we aren't getting money from because we haven't had people able to dedicate the time to work on these things. So this is a really good opportunity for Winthrop to not invest any money into something for the time being, have a regional effort on a fair amount of energy and climate related matters. And longer term, the amount of money that this regional office would look for was less than what we were spending on a conservation agent and our grant office. So we have free money right now. That's exciting from the Bar Foundation, and it's a small investment for the town. Longer term, that fits into the budget. So it's a very exciting opportunity to work on a regional basis on some super, super important issues. To speak about how important this is to me personally, this is actually on the second page of the budget from last year as one of my major items to work on. I've been working on this for a while, and we're at a point now that we have money from other sources to take care of this. And it's really important work that you know, when all of our attention isn't on COVID every day, climate change and things like that are going to have serious impacts on Winthrop longer term need to be incorporated into all of our decision-making processes, and this office would help with that.
Yeah, thank you, Austin. I think it's a good agreement, and I think we should have to send this to Rules and Ordinance Committee to come back with a report for our next meeting. As to whether we go forward with this. I believe it is a good agreement, and it will finally give us a conservation agent to use and get some of the projects the Conservation Committee's been sitting on, because they haven't had an agent to get going and get things done. So I'm going to send this to Rules and Ordinance for next meeting.
Council President?
Yes.
Can you send that jointly to Finance? There's going to be a financial impact on this long-term, if not short-term. And, you know, it sounds great, that $600,000, but I think it'd be wise to look at the impacts, what kind of employment situations, who's going to be housing them, where the benefits are coming from, and such. So there is definitely a financial impact of this. We've had some extremely good success with some regionalization, and we've had extremely bad success with others. So I think it's important that we look at the financial ramifications.
Yeah, I will send that to a joint committee of Finance and Rules and Ordinance. I think the 10 pages of the agreement pretty much explain what's going on with it. And I think if you guys take a look at it with 6 bodies, you'll be able to determine that and bring it back for our next meeting. Okay. Finally, there is a motion to transfer $20,000 from Town Council Reserve to replenish the ISD extraordinary pest control expense. And I think this, Councilor Terry, I don't know if you have gone over this, and I think this could be taken as a public safety emergency motion if someone so moves that, because it's a situation where there is a dire need now for public safety issue of rodent control.
I think
I'll make the urgency motion.
Well, in the past, we've sent this to Finance. This is money that's probably already been spent. And I know Assistant Town Manager Anna is on the call, and I don't know if there's a sense of urgency to have it replenished right now. This is an item that we've talked about for years that is not budgeted for at all, and we need to set aside funds for pest control. But I'm assuming that these are funds that have already been spent. Is that correct?
So there are, the FY21 budget actually attempted to start phasing in some upfront, some forward funding for this. There was, I believe, $10,000 in the budget. My understanding from Inspectional Services Department, they reached out a few weeks ago and informed us that that they have fully depleted that account and have a number of invoices pending on this. And so this motion would provide funds to pay those invoices which have already come in and to hopefully get us through the end of the year based on our current trends for invoices.
Get us to the end of the calendar year or the fiscal year?
Oh, hopefully the fiscal year. I believe that there is about $10,000 in invoices. The motion's for $20,000, which we hope will get us through the end of the fiscal year.
Okay, so then it's not an emergency type.
So I would say that the emergency would be that if the council were to deem this an emergency, it's just that the invoices, the council does not meet again until January, so we will be, the invoices will be overdue at that point. But additionally, just to keep us current so that to the extent that we need to be continuing to address pest control, we don't have any disruptions in that because invoices are outstanding.
You know, we've said in the past, I just think it's important that, you know, even if these expenses are going to be incurred, they have to realize they have to spend within their budget and come to us before the expense is incurred. We understand that there's emergencies and we've had a lot of issues with rodents throughout the town, in some areas that we don't normally have. And but it's just a bad precedent when we're paying for service, we're having services done if we don't have money in the account. And this is why I think it's important to go to a committee, but whatever the council chooses.
Do I have any motions?
Council President, I would have to concur with Council Lettieri, and I don't think there's an urgency to address this issue this evening. I don't really think it raises to the level of an emergency. And I think we could vent it out at a finance committee meeting and be back at the next council meeting in January.
Okay, motion's been made to send it to the finance committee meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All right, any discussion on that? Let's see, Councilor Honan has her hand up.
So, Director Calla, might any of the pest issues be caused by the construction down the center, and would GEOSO be responsible for any of those costs?
GEOSO has baited all their manholes for the duration of the project. I don't know where Inspectional Services is baiting. I suspect that this stuff is from Yarrow Beach over the summer. And areas away from the center business district. Again, the baiting in that area has been done by GEOSO throughout.
Okay,
I think there's been some issues throughout the town in different areas such as the Highlands and the Point.
I suppose. Okay. The GEOSO has baited the center. The issue that they have a problem with now is the Highlands. I guess there's a big rodent problem around Grover's Highland Ave, that area, which would had nothing to do with Mr. GEOSO. They had baited the center pretty well, I guess, during the entire project that they were doing. So it's other places that needed Council Honan.
One more question. So when do people have personal responsibility to take care of rodents on their own property as opposed to rodents that might be caused by the town? I know we had a rough problem.
I'll try to answer that. It's a tricky one. There are shared spaces where these things move around. That some of those shared spaces are town property, dating sewers, things like that. That said, we as a town, and this is why we're looking at like the solid waste program, when people put trash out in uncovered bins overnight or early in the morning when the rats are still active, those are food sources for them. And that's why we're trying to look at universal bins. With the amount of construction activity that's happening, not just in the center, but all over town, it wakes those things up and they start looking for food and they start moving around. So it is it's a fine line of like, what's the town's responsibility and what's the individual responsibility. You know, if you have a huge rat's nest on your property under your shed, you should probably take care of that. That's not necessarily on the town, but the overall like influx of rats, we're trying to kind of head them off on the places that we know they are in our public spaces. But again, this is a tricky, hard thing because these things don't go anywhere and they reproduce really rapidly. And with less than super cold winters like the last one, they don't all freeze and die, unfortunately. So we've been in this like precarious position. This is a regional problem, not just a Winthrop problem about the rats. But I do understand the sentiment concerning the funding of the line item and how to deal with it longer term.
I'm wondering if there's a massive home project, somebody's having their individual home constructed, and then there's an influx of rats in that area, would they be responsible for that? Or if there's no town construction going on in a particular area, and all of a sudden with the the rat infestation kind of coincides with the construction of a massive home, might they be held responsible and told to deal with that?
I can't say certain for that they'd be held responsible, but I think that our Inspection Services Department could have a conversation with anyone who has a building permit. And if we think that there are impacts with the rodent population, we could ask them if they have a mitigation plan, or if they would at least like have a discussion with us about one. So this is stuff that I think is interesting. We have our new web-based permitting system that the inspectional services can kind of communicate in real time with some of the projects that are happening. This is something that I think would potentially be useful, that if we have a certain size project or certain types of projects, that this is something that kind of gets flagged in it, that we say, like, you know, do you have a rodent mitigation plan? This is something that we'd like to have in-house if you're we could enter that into the system. I can talk with inspectional services about where they think that's potentially appropriate.
That's actually awesome. That's actually is happening at site plan review. We just had a site plan review for 10 Somerset. And we asked them for a rodent mitigation plan, which they will be submitting to inspectional services. That's one of the big projects in town. For the small household projects, I'll leave that for Al Legee to speak to. I'm not sure, but I suspect that he would do something similar on a big renovation.
Yeah, and again, it's hard.
Move the cost. Foundation.
I like that.
Okay, it's not just a problem of the building. We actually had a police situation a few months ago where someone was actually feeding them, and the police had to intervene and get them to stop feeding them. Yeah. Go ahead, Councilor Gero.
Thank you. And to that point, Council President, I know that in my precinct, I've received a myriad of phone calls related to this issue. And, I think that it's great that we're going to be putting some money towards extermination, but I also think that some resources in some way, shape, or form or another need to be dedicated to education and how we can all do our part in preventing this. I know that due to COVID, more folks are working from home, more people are producing trash from their home than they are typically in years past. And, more folks are putting their trash out earlier because they're home all day, not necessarily going into the office, so the trash is sitting out on the street for longer periods of time. I know in the town manager's blog a few months ago, there was a nice little, the 10-step program to helping with rodent infestation, and I thought that was pretty good. But maybe next budget season, this is something we want to keep in mind, just sort of a overarching education awareness on how we can all kind of step in here, whether that's trimming your grass or not using bird feeders, not using bird baths, things like that. So not to go on a rant and down a rabbit hole, but that's just sort of my 2 cents.
Thank you, Councilor Gero. Okay, I will. The motion's been made and seconded to send it to I believe we said Finance. All those in favor signify by saying aye when your name is called. You roll call.
Councilor Gero.
Yes.
Councilor Flockhart.
Yes.
Councilor DeMarco.
Yes.
Councilor Christopher.
Yes.
Councilor Honan.
Yes.
Councilor Conti. Councilor Farino.
Yes.
Vice President Lettieri.
Yes.
President Boncory.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We will now go into public comment again. Again, the number for public comment to everybody that is watching is 1-312-626-6799 with an ID number of 810-713-60507. Do we have anybody with their hand up? I see we do have Mike Deluiso. Is that correct?
Yes, we have Mike.
Okay, Mike.
Good evening, President Boncory. Just wanted to remind folks real quick that the Transportation Safety Advisory Committee has a meeting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. One of the items on that agenda will be the continuation of last week's public hearing on receiving input about the Point Shirley resident parking pilot from this past summer. And anybody who would like to speak about that is welcome to attend. If you're unable to attend, we are also still reaching out for comment from people via email through December 23rd. And that can be sent to tsac@town.winthrop.ma.us.
Michael?
Yes, sir.
Are you also talking about the one-way situation on Harborview?
One-way situation on Harborview, continuation of a discussion, some traffic patterns near Massa Playground, and discussion on the parking regulations along Shirley Street from Belby's Corner and to the Point.
I received calls on the Harborview one, so.
Council President, I got a question for Mike.
Yes, Council.
And Mike, how you doing? Any update on the reducing the speed limit on the 25 from the state, getting the approval?
I don't have any information on that. Once the council voted on it, somebody would have had to reach out to the state to get that done before we can install those signs.
So who do we have reach out? Is that Denise Quest that would do that?
I will circle back around with the town manager tomorrow. I'll let you know.
Thank you, because I did have a correspondence from someone actually about an incident down at McGee's Corner again, and we just want to make sure that, since we passed it, that those signs go up as soon as possible. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, is there any other public comment?
I don't see any hands up right now.
I don't see any hands up. We'll give it a minute. Any other public comment? Seeing none, I will close public comment. That was a surprise. Under public relations, we have immediate committee openings for the Airport Hazards Committee and Commission. I had a meeting with Jerry Falbo today, who is the CAC representative to the state committee at the airport. And he's very concerned that we need to keep that as an active and viable. If anybody is interested in being on that Airport Hazards Committee, please let me know. There's also an opening for the Diversity, Inclusion, and Public Relations Committee that I'm seeking applications on, and one for the Finance Committee. So please, if you're interested in being on any committee, go online. It's easy to find the applications and fill out an application to be on a committee. Do any councilors have any public relations information they would like to bring forward?
Council President?
Yes.
I'd just like to wish our Jewish community a happy Hanukkah.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any public relations? Because I intended to wish every person in Winthrop a very happy holiday, whichever holiday they do worship or enjoy believing and following. There are something like 14 holidays in December for different religions and different cultures. So whichever culture and religion you follow, please enjoy your holiday. Everyone, please have a very happy and healthy New Year. Be safe, social distance, wear your mask, be safe, so that in January you'll all be here to hear the state of the town declaration that I'll be making here at the first meeting in January. All right, so please be safe, everyone. And I will entertain a motion to adjourn if no one else has any public relation.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Councilor.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Farino, I believe. All those when your name is called.
Council Ruggiero?
Yes.
Council Flockhart?
Yes.
Council DeMarco?
Yes.
Council Christopher?
Yes.
Council Honan?
Yes.
Council LeConte? Council Farino?
Yes.
Vice President Lettieri?
Yes.
President Boncory?
Yes. Happy holidays, everybody. Be safe.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Happy
Christmas.
New Year. Happy holidays.